Yo, what is up everybody, and welcome back to another F1 2020 My Team video. You guys see the driver and constructor standings heading into race number 5 of the 2020 campaign. We are going to the Netherlands. For the first time in I believe over 30 years, F1 returns to the Dutch Grand Prix, and it's gonna rain. It is going to rain. Not too much of a surprise given where we are racing. The conditions can go from dry to rain to heavy rain back to dry all in the matter of minutes here. So the race should be completely unpredictable as far as the weather. So what we are doing in qualifying, what we are practice and eventually qualifying may not matter too much, since the conditions on race day are mostly going to be wet conditions. And as far as the weather forecast, you guys are going to see eventually, there is a chance for the track to dry up towards the end of the race. So we can't fully prepare for a complete damp track, a complete wet track. Though, as far as, you know, whether we're going to be on intermediates or complete wet tires, when the track is going to dry up, that is just all up to Mother Nature. So you guys see we do practice 1, we get some of our race programs done so we can get some resource points. We sim the rest of the practices so we can get some more resource points, and hopefully that will allow us to get an upgrade soon. So you guys see the driver and team acclaim eventually going up as well as we get ready for one-shot qualifying. The pace is looking not too bad at this track. I would say our pace is similar here as it was to China. Not like they're really similar tracks, but I think that's just where we are as far as a driver slash team. About a 15th to 16th place team as far as, you know, qualifying day comes, to where we can probably easily beat the Williams, easily beat the Haas cars, easily beat our teammate Mazepin at most tracks, and, you know, maybe beat like an Alpha, maybe, or Alfa Romeo, maybe beat an AlphaTauri. They're both Alphas this year. Like, I don't know, you know, whose idea that was, but nonetheless, here we are in qualifying. So far, sitting P12 as we come around the fast right-hander. The track slows down during this second sector, and especially slows down for most of the third sector. As you see, I'm just trying to hit whatever braking points I possibly can. This second sector is definitely a weak point for myself at this track. I feel like I lose a lot of time, and that definitely shows up on the stopwatch to where we're now down to P14. Second and a half behind Lewis Hamilton, who is on the provisional pole right now. Not that we're chasing the Mercedes, but that's how far we are off the pace from the top team, the top driver, as we round the final high bank corner. It's full on throttle here, all the way down this straightaway, trying to maintain 14th, which I believe we do, but after qualifying last week, it's never a given until we finally cross the line, and it is a solid P14, so we'll definitely take that. But of course, on race day, things could be completely different. It could be completely chaotic. Strategy is definitely going to come into play, so, you know, I really don't know what to expect come race day, though. As you guys see, our pace, you know, we're pretty far off of, I would say, the top 12, and also a good distance away from, like, 15th on back. So I would say we are pretty solidly a 13 to 14 place car, maybe a 12 place car. So, you know, that's what qualifying can tell us, and what the forecast can tell us. As I was saying before, you know, the track is going to dry up at the end for sure, because it's going to be sunny at the end of this race. How heavy is it going to be raining at the start? I don't know. That's a lot of rain dots. There's only one way to find out, and that's attacking the Netherlands on race day.
It was 35 years ago that the late great Niki Lauda took his 25th and final Grand Prix win here at Zandvoort. He came from 10th on the grid to beat his McLaren teammate Alain Prost by just 0.2 of a second. Well, Zandvoort is a very different circuit today, of course, but still one with an incredible legacy. And we're going to add to that. Welcome along to the 2020 Dutch Grand Prix. 2.6 miles then make up a lap here at a wet Zandvoort circuit, where some tricky braking zones and sudden drops can make it all too easy to slide off into the gravel. There are 14 corners overall and a 678-metre main straight, providing the best chance for overtaking. Anthony Davidson, thanks for joining me once again for the Grand Prix. Why don't we kick off by discussing Max Verstappen? That was a great win in the last race. Can they keep that momentum going this weekend?
It's always nice to come into a Grand Prix weekend on a high, but your expectations are based much more on your practice and qualifying runs. So it's the momentum from those sessions that they'll be hoping to carry into the race today.
Off the back of a fantastic qualifying session, it's time to see how our starting grid looks for today's race. Lewis Hamilton lines up on pole position, and Valtteri Bottas will line up alongside. Considering the rest of the grid, we have Vettel, Verstappen, Alexander Albon, and Leclerc, Perez, Norris, Ricciardo, and Carlos Sainz. Ocon, Stroll, Daniel Kvyat, Cook, Raikkonen, Gasly, Nikita Mazepin, and Antonio Giovinazzi, Grosjean, Magnussen, Russell, and Nicholas Latifi. And with preparations almost complete, let's head down to the track.
Well. Track conditions say very wet, but we're still starting the race on intermediate tires, not the wets. So here we go. 5 red lights on and 5 red lights out. That's a quick one. We are underway with the Netherlands Grand Prix for the first time in 35 years in Formula 1. Going into the first corner, everybody's trying to take it easy. We still get a jump by virtue of being in that inside line, taking advantage of the AIs braking early. We jump a couple, move up to P12. Sainz and Ocon side by side ahead. Raikkonen and Stroll side by side behind us. The inside line is moving, and we're looking to take advantage. We might have touched with Sainz, and we definitely have the acceleration to get by Carlos Sainz. Move us to P11, though maybe not for long. That's a very tricky move Sainz tried to pull off there around the outside. This is mainly a one-group part of the track. High speed, though we're not going as fast in the wet, but that definitely makes that part that much more treacherous. It's treasure. That's a tongue twister right there. That's a full speed part of the track, even though it's very twisty and turny and bendy. It's still full throttle nonetheless. So, going side by side down that area of the track, you're basically asking for both cars to crash. So you want to avoid that pretty much at any given point, which makes this track a difficult track as far as trying to pull off overtakes. Where you end up at the end of the first lap is probably going to be where you are in the race for a couple of laps after that, especially in the wet. As you guys see, that final corner, full throttle in qualifying, nice and easy. In the rain, you want to be full throttle, but you have to let off a little bit there, or else you're probably going to crash, as we see a replay of the first corners. So nothing too special here. We just, like I said, taking advantage of the AI braking early, make a move, and it looked like it actually costs Raikkonen and Stroll a little bit. Now AlphaTauri tried to take him 3 wide, but eventually had to back out of the move. Like I said, this track is very narrow, very hard for overtakes. The other new track for the 2020 campaign, along with the Vietnam track, or tracks that were scheduled to be a part of the 2020 circuit for Formula 1. Of course, the COVID-19 pandemic took this track away from the calendar. It'll probably make its return in 2021, but for now we are racing it in this game and definitely struggling in that final corner for sure. We have our hands full and we're still running P11, respectable, nothing to cry about, nothing to write home about, as we have a caution out on the track. Either a spin or someone has just retired with a mechanical failure. And if you look on the mini map, that's actually the color of our Cookie Monster teammate, Nikita Mazepin. Mazepin is going to be dropping out of this race with a mechanical failure, and we're not even 5 laps in. That hurts. Not that Mazepin was on pace for points. I don't think he was, but I mean, come on, man. What that's really going to affect is our sponsor goal for this race. Our sponsor goal for one of our 2 sponsors is to complete at least 75 laps as a team throughout the entire race weekend. And it's 36 laps in this race, which would have been 72 combined for myself and Mazepin. Combined with qualifying and practice, we easily would have hit that goal. But now that Mazepin's out the race, I'm not sure we're going to get it. But how early he retired from this race. Nothing of his own doing, though. That's just the car breaking down. This Cookie Monster car does not have good reliability, which is not too much of a concern for us, because I don't think our car can truly break down in a race. It can suffer problems during a race, but I don't think it can break down. But for Mazepin, he can retire with mechanical failures, and that's where he sits. Where we sit right now is the same place we've been sitting since midway through the first lap. Right behind Ocon, right ahead of Sainz. I believe at this point in the race, we're actually a little bit faster than Ocon, but not as fast as Sainz. But, you know, how difficult it is to overtake with the conditions being what they are, this has just been the way our race has gone. You know, we haven't really made any mistakes, as Latifi is now out of the race. So the second retirement during the rain portion of this race, which we need to talk about because the dry portion of this race is coming up pretty soon, a little sooner than expected. I figured it would be past halfway when this track dried up. Well, look at the conditions. It's not raining anymore. There's still, you know, a bit of moisture on the track, which is allowing these intermediates to not completely fall off, but we are starting to hit the crossover point to where we need to get off these intermediates ASAP and get ourselves onto some sort of dry tire, whether it's the softs or the mediums or the hards. I'm not too sure which one is going to work for us. So we are going to, I believe, no, we're not going to box this lap. I thought about it as we were losing it, but I was going to kind of wait for my engineer Jeff to tell me, hey, it's time to come down and pit for dries, but no call from the pit box. So we stayed out another lap, which ended up being a mistake because I feel like we should have pit last lap. So we're definitely going to make the call ourselves to pit, as Sainz is making the call to go on the inside. Oh, but he has the outside for this corner. He has our side, the side of our car, while trying to maneuver that corner. And yeah, things got dicey for a second, but eventually we do make our way to pit road, and it's definitely perfectly timed because DRS has been enabled. That means the track is pretty much dried up, and once DRS is enabled, that's a big red flag if you are still on intermediates like Carlos Sainz and Kevin Magnussen, who are still out on the inters, and they're going to be a lot slower than the rest of the field. So you're going to see this gap that we had to K-Mag is probably going to shrink before the end of this lap. We're probably going to have to pass K-Mag during this lap for, you know, how slow he's going to be going on these intermediates. So I decided to chuck on the mediums. Now, I made this pit call all on my own. Jeff did not, you know, contribute at all. Like, the CPU did not help me with this one. So I don't really know if this is the right decision to chuck on the medium compound tires. It looks like Raikkonen has the mediums on. I'm thinking if we put mediums on, this should allow us to go to the end of the race. I don't think the softs can do it, and, you know, putting on the hards definitely would get us to the end, but I don't think it would do us much justice as far as pace because, you know, with the way the pit sequence is going, we're in P10. We have a chance to get a points position in this race. We have gotten the undercut on Esteban Ocon by virtue of pitting before him, and Ocon's not even close to us. And not only that, it looks like Ocon is on the softs, Norris is on the softs, and Ricardo is on the softs, so that's something to watch. Carlos Sainz has a mechanical problem, and that's Max Verstappen sitting on the side of the track. Verstappen parked. That might be a safety car, maybe a VSC. We'll have to wait and maybe find out. Nothing from the stewards yet. It's still green flag, just a local yellow, but Verstappen is sitting. Meanwhile, we've purpled the last lap as the track is drying up. A lot has unfolded in the last half lap here in the Netherlands, and as we watch the replay, Max Verstappen simply loses it. You don't see this every day. Max Verstappen losing it all on his own. Well, maybe if you do, if you know that Verstappen spun out during the not even the formation lap, the drive to the grid lap in real life in Hungary. So the wet conditions maybe got the best of Verstappen at times, and you see Verstappen was sitting here for a while and eventually got going. They decided against throwing a safety car, I guess, since Verstappen eventually got going. You see a piece of debris on the side of the track. If that was on the track, they might have thrown the safety, or just put the safety car on the track. So that's all that, as we lose our purple lap to Lewis Hamilton by almost 2 seconds. So that was definitely short-lived and a bit of a fluke more than anything else, as we were probably one of the first cars to maneuver on the dry tires. I think most of the CPU pit the lap after, or even 2 laps after us. So now the way the race is playing out, it's a bit of a strategy call to where we're looking to definitely do a one-stop to the end of the race. The tires are looking pretty good right now, but all the guys on softs have to pit again. These soft tires will not last to the rest of the race. So you see Ocon has eventually caught up to us, but Ocon's going to have to pit. You see Ricardo's in the pit lane, Lando Norris is in the pit lane, and because of these guys going for a 2-stop, it's going to cost them track position. Look at Sergio Perez. We're going to come out right near Perez. Can we get the jump on him? It's going to be close. Perez accelerating just ahead, but he's on cold tires. We may have a chance to pounce, but we're not going to be overtaking the racing point here. Perez accelerates away, and on fresh, soft tires, we can wave Sergio Perez goodbye. Probably for the better that Perez is not going to be on the back of us, because he would have been a lot faster on fresh softs. Perez was way ahead of us, so, you know, that's fine. But as you guys will notice, Ricciardo and Norris are now behind us. Ocon is way behind us since he just made his second pit stop. And we are now in the 7th position. We are best of the rest, even ahead of Max Verstappen. Actually, we're not best of the rest. Sergio Perez is best of the rest. But after that, it's us. Verstappen, I believe, made an extra pit stop. He is completely out of the running for points. Meanwhile, for us, it's maybe P7, maybe P8, maybe P9. It's all depending on if Ricciardo and Norris, I should say, can get a move done on us in the last, 6 laps and change of this Dutch Grand Prix. So you see Ricciardo behind us, but he's not going to be close enough to us to make a move, I believe, going into turn 1. I don't think he will be, but DRS is a powerful tool. Ricciardo's gonna try. Ricciardo known for being late on the brakes, and right before we get to our braking point, we cover off the inside at the last second. We're definitely not going to let Ricciardo do one of his famous lunges. Speaking of DRS, this is also a DRS zone of this track, and Ricciardo is right behind us now, side by side, now ahead of us. We're going to try to do the same thing we did to Sainz earlier in the race, and whoa! It works out for us. We nearly lost the car trying to hold the inside, protecting from the Renault of Daniel Ricciardo. In race, I had no idea that was a DRS zone until that lap. I realized, I was like, oh shoot, that's a DRS zone. You'll notice I didn't even use my overtake to try to defend Ricciardo, as once again, right before the braking point, whew, we blocked the inside of Ricciardo, who is definitely getting frustrated. Ricciardo has a lot more pace on the sauce, but as we talked about before, at this track, very hard to pass, almost impossible to pass, and even this DRS zone, it's almost impossible to make the move. You see, we positioned the car pretty well there to where Ricciardo cannot make the move on us. And if anything, we could give Ricciardo the outside, or technically the inside for that corner, knowing we have the out or the inside for the next one. So, it's all about placing your car in the right position as far as defending, though it's not too hard at this Netherlands track as opposed to other tracks where it would be very difficult to hold off someone who is much faster on a better compound in a better car. But at this Netherlands track, we're doing a good job of holding off Ricciardo. If Ricciardo and Norris passed us, I would have not even minded. Like, P9 is probably where, we should be. We are 2 positions ahead just purely off of strategy. So, otherwise it would be a P9 for us. But once again, it looks like we're going to overachieve as we are on the white flag lap here of the Dutch Grand Prix. Though, way up ahead, Lewis Hamilton is going to finish the Dutch Grand Prix as the race winner. So Lewis Hamilton back in victory lane. Hamilton won the first 2 races of this season. Took a bit of a break, but now he's back on the top step of the podium. Meanwhile, for us, we just continue to find ways to get a bit lucky, overachieve, use strategy to our advantage. I think strategy really got us like 2 positions extra. I don't know if the intermediate conditions helped us or hurt us as far as, our running position, our pace compared to some of these other cars. But at the end of the day, Ricciardo and Norris can only watch as the Cookie Monsters claim P7 here in the Netherlands. So another points finish. We continue our string of points finishes. We had the 4th and 5th place. Now we're crashing back to earth just a little bit with the 8th in China, the 7th place here. Once again, a couple of things had to go our way for us to even get this P7, with Max Verstappen spinning out, with Ricciardo and Norris and even Ocon all somewhat botching the strategy and going for the 2-stop. You see a lot of people 1-stop, but the guys who 2-stopped, Ocon didn't even end up in a points-paying position at the end of it all. So you see Verstappen way down the running order. Our teammate Alon Latifi DNFing out of this race early on. So yeah, a lot of the top guys, they ended up 1-stopping. 1-stopping was definitely the better strategy. Ourselves and the Mercedes pulled that off. Let's go to Claire.
Amazing performance out there. I'm sure you're pretty happy with that. Did you struggle to get through all that traffic today?
Once again, after the first set of turns, we didn't really make many overtakes.
You're surpassing all expectations. Can anything or anyone stop you?
Yeah, a lot of things can stop us, but we're gonna try.
How do you feel the weather affected the outcome today?
The weather definitely played a role in this race for sure. It definitely, you know, like I said, changed strategies, but,
Appreciate your time.
you know, the top guys, they did their things. The Mercedes still won. The Ferrari still ran well. Albon showed the Red Bull was nice, even though Verstappen made a rare error, and we did our thing. You know, we ran a smart race that race. We didn't push the issue. Even though I felt like we were faster than Ocon, we never really jeopardized our race to try to make the move. We just took what the car was going to give us, and eventually strategy worked out in our favor to beat both the Renaults and Norris. So, unfortunately, we're not going to get the sponsor bonus for completing 75 laps. We missed it by 3 laps, which means a Mazepin would have even retired on like lap 8 out of 36. We still would have gotten the sponsor bonus. So that hurts as we're continuing to try to build our team. So that's going to cost us, I believe, about 150 grand. So, yeah. Once again, not Mazepin's fault, even though a lot of Mazepin's issues are his fault. That one's not on him. So you see we're going to fit some new engine parts for the next race in Spain since our initial parts are wearing out. No penalty for that, so we're going to soldier on to Spain with a fresh engine and hopefully a fresh mindset to maybe continue our run at getting points in the Cookie Monster. Though for now, leave a like in the video if you guys enjoyed what you guys saw. Subscribe for more F1 gameplays. Thank you guys for everyone that's been watching and leaving comments down there. I definitely appreciate everyone who is taking their time out to watch this Formula 1 series. I know there's a lot of people playing F1 2020, my team, so I'm glad you guys are choosing to kick with us, at least, choosing one of your slots for watching Formula 1, watching this series, and yeah, I'll catch you guys next time.